When Saturday morning the announcement came that U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, why would you be surprised? I mean, for weeks, President Trump was saying, look, we want to make a deal with these people. They got to stop their nuclear research, and they have to downgrade their ballistic missile capacity. And if they don't, then we're going to have to force them to do that. How many times did the man have to say that? And then, it shows you how distracted many people on this planet and in this country are. They don't know what the deuce is happening. And don't believe the polls. There's a bunch of polls out, snap polls after, we're opposed. These people who are being queried don't know anything. And then, I hate to be supercilious about this, word of the day, but you're talking to people who have no idea about why things happen or even what's happening because they don't consume information. They live in a bubble, which is becoming an increasing problem for the world. And the totalitarians love that. The less you know, the more they like it. Okay, let's go to the talking points memo about Iran. This is very important that you guys understand the big picture here. And again, if you disagree or want to know more, bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. Name and town, please. All right. So President Trump made brief remarks today, said that the military mission's ahead of schedule. I don't know what that means. I do know that the Pentagon, which is really in charge of the operation, and President Trump's in charge, but the Pentagon's calling the shots, want to downgrade the ballistic missile situation whereby Iran would not be able to fire missiles at Israel or any of the Arab countries they don't like or anybody else. So that may take some time to locate all of those missiles and blow them up. In the meantime, the allies, and there's just two of them, Israel and the USA, are after the people who are murdering the Iranian protesters, the people who want freedom. So they are being hunted. And I understand about 50 of them have already been eliminated, including the top mullah, as you know. Okay? They're all conferring with Allah even as we speak. Now, 4 Americans are dead in Kuwait. I spent some time in Kuwait in the first Gulf War reporting. Huge base over there for the USA. Some things went wrong, but this isn't a concentrated effort on the Iranians' part to kill American soldiers. I'm sure they'd like to, but they don't have the capacity to do it, which is pretty shocking if you think about it. I mean, here you have these mullahs threatening to blow up America and Israel. They can't even get a plane off the ground. I think they got one off in Oman, shot it out of the air. They don't have the capacity to wage this kind of war. They can build roadside bombs. They can blow up women and children. That's not hard. But to wage war against powerful military machines like the USA and Israel, they can't. That's important that you know that. This is all bluster. This is all BS. Okay? They cannot launch any effective resistance to what America is doing. Very important. What they can do is mobilize terrorism. And that is President Trump's biggest challenge. Because you got a lot of people here who are sympathetic to the jihad. Thank you, Joe Biden. Okay? They're here. And one of them acted out in Austin, Texas. 2 dead down there, a bunch wounded. And the guy's dead, but it looks like this guy was tied into the jihad. He's from Senegal. Anyway, it's political now, as everything is. So this is another important thing. The most important thing you have to understand today is Iran has no capacity to defend itself. And the United States is going to take full advantage of that and try to get a new regime in there. I don't know. Nobody knows whether that'll be successful or not. It's up to the Persian people. Second thing you need to know is the Democratic Party is going to oppose everything that Donald Trump does. It doesn't matter the cliche is cure cancer, they'd oppose it. It's true. Now, Senator John Fetterman and a few Congress people, including my congressman here on Long Island, Tom Suozzi, they've supported the Iranian action. But by and large, the Democratic Party and their media enablers, the corporate media, will oppose everything that Donald Trump does. Now, it makes them look stupid, and we'll demonstrate that in a moment, but they don't really care about that. So tomorrow, Secretary of State Rubio, Defense Secretary Hegseth, CIA Director Ratcliffe, and General Dan Kane, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, are going to brief House and Senate members about where we are. So that'll take place tomorrow in the late afternoon. And it's classified. So it'll leak, of course, because unfortunately members of our Congress don't respect classified information anymore. But I don't expect anything big there. A very unexpected thing happened, though. Kamala Harris condemned the action. Roll it.
Donald Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose this war of choice, and everyone should.
All right, now just keep this in perspective now. This is important. Ms. Harris is entitled to her opinion. But as vice president, she sat on her butt for 4 years and watched as the Biden administration released billions of dollars to Iran that were frozen, money that was frozen because of sanctions. Biden released the money, gave it to the mullahs, and the mullahs turned around and financed Hezbollah, Hamas, October 7th, the Houthis, and whatever other terror groups they could fund. That's what happened in the Biden-Harris administration. She's never, ever answered for that. Won't, can't. I don't even know if she knows it. I don't have much regard for Kamala Harris's intellect. But now she's condemning it. Okay. So you, lady, I'm sorry to be disrespectful, were vice president when an American administration for 4 years empowered mullahs in Iran to kill people, including Americans. That's what you did, and said nothing. You said nothing. Even in your campaign, you didn't repudiate it. It's real. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that gets me crazy. Okay. Now, the War Powers Act. I'm tired of it. It's not going anywhere. They've tried it and tried it and tried it to demand that the President of the United States, before any military action, gets approval from Congress. You cannot wage war in that fashion. Started with Soleimani. If you read Killing the Killers, my book, you understand that the Trump administration wiped out the head of the Iranian National Guard, as well as ISIS, continuing the Obama policy without congressional approval. Okay, that's what happened. And it's, we got a war powers resolution, war powers this. It'll never pass the Senate. You need 60 votes. Not happening. So you can run around on the talk shows all you want, screaming war powers this, war powers that, and it's going nowhere. You want to waste your time watching these shows? Up to you. The United States has not declared a war since World War II. That means Korea, 3 years, Vietnam, 6 years. These were undeclared wars. Okay? And the presidents did what they wanted to do. Truman and Johnson and Nixon. That's pretty stunning. So what the left wants is that Trump would have to walk in and say, yeah, on Saturday I'm going to go bomb Iran. So then Iran can prepare for the attack. Does that make any sense to you? Now, debriefings, okay, not mass. I would have called in a couple, head of the Armed Services Committee, that kind of thing, classified, know who they are, so they can be arrested if they violate the Classified Information Act. Okay? I would have given him, but Trump gave everybody a heads up, as I said in the beginning of the memo. All right, War Powers Act. God, it drives me nuts. United Nations, totally useless. Totally useless. Here is the Secretary General. Go.
Military action carries the risk of igniting a chain of events that no one can control in the most volatile region of the world. Let me be clear. There is no viable alternative to the peaceful settlement of international disputes. Lasting peace can only be achieved through peaceful means, including genuine dialogue and negotiations.
Yeah, well, you've done a really great job. 9/11, October 7th, you really did a good job. The United Nations is really effective. You guys can't even go to Haiti and pacify it. You can't even pacify Haiti. Oh, the negotiation. How long has it been going on? With the mullahs since 1979. Worldwide sponsored terrorism. What'd the UN do? Zero. Kamala Harris should be the Secretary General of the UN. Nothing. No, don't. Waste of time. 100%. The only thing that agency does that's any good is medical vaccinations for children, as far as I can see. That's it. The Pope, Leo. Okay, roll it.
Peace is not built with threats and arms. They generally result in destruction and death, but only through reasonable dialogue that's also authentic and responsible.
Now, I don't have beef with the Pope. That's the Pope's job, okay? The United Nations is supposed to protect the world. They don't do their job. The Pope, he wants peace. Peace at any price? Maybe. But his job is to try to tamp down killing. So I don't have a beef with that. And authentic and responsible dialogue, that's good. But I'm sure Pope Leo knows you're not going to get that from Putin or the mullahs. You're not going to get it. Not going to happen. But the Pope has to say that. He can't say blow the hell out of them. That's not what his job is. So there is a difference. The Catholic Church is not in a position to protect the world. It is in a position to teach peace and love. So the big difference. Okay. Summing up. And I'm going to get to the media in a moment. I can't tell you how this is going to work out. All right, I don't know. I can say, because I did talk to President Trump himself, one-on-one about it, that Mr. Trump did not want to do the action. He wanted a deal. Just like he wanted a deal with Maduro in Venezuela. They wouldn't do the deal. There was some urgency because they fast-tracked the nukes. After we hit them last June, yeah, we heard them. But then all of us, 2 weeks later, they were back trying to make another nuke. But Trump didn't want to do it. I can tell you that because I spoke to him about it. And we brainstormed about, and he thought he was going to get a deal. He didn't even thought Mullah was going to be so crazy, and now the Mullah is dead, the Ayatollah. And if you read Confronting Evil, where the Ayatollah Khomeini's on the cover, and his predecessor has just joined him, you see how bad these people are. I got to send a copy of that book to the Pope. Anyway, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't oppose the action. I do caution the Trump administration to have everybody on alert for domestic terrorism. And that's the memo. Okay, let's go back home to the USA. So there's a loss in all of this was a very important House Oversight Committee hearing on Minnesota. And this is a story that needs to have some resolution. So you'll remember that 62 people have been arrested and charged. They've been convicted, 62 convicted, mostly Somalis, okay, for stealing $9 billion in federal money. Well, how the hell could that happen? $9 billion is a lot of money. So the committee called the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, and the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, to testify. Joining us now from Washington is Congressman Pat Fallon from Texas, who is a member of the Oversight Committee. So what's the headline, Congressman, that you heard today?
Well, Bill, they weren't, they didn't want to take responsibility and they wanted to deflect, as I suspected they would. And the Democrats on the Oversight Committee just wanted to talk about Trump. They didn't want to talk about the issue at hand, which is there were largely in the Somali community billions of dollars that were stolen from the American taxpayer. And I want to give you an example with specificity, Bill, for your listeners and viewers. There was something called the Early Intensive Development and Behavioral Intervention. It was for kids with autism. And Medicaid billed out in 2018, $671,000 in Minnesota. 6 years later, they billed out $342 million, 500x. Now, you can't tell me that suddenly there was an explosion of autism in the state of Minnesota. Clearly, it was fraudulent. And these are the kinds of examples where, $300 million here, $200 million here, Bill, suddenly you've got billions.
Okay. So it's federal money that is involved, which is why you're involved. And the feds made the case. Walz had to know that there were problems in Minneapolis with the Somalis defrauding the federal government. Would that be a fair statement? He had to know that?
He had to know that. And in fact, we don't have to just go based on, assertions or speculation. We have, Bill, when we do an investigation in the Oversight Committee, we're lucky if we get one or two whistleblowers because it's difficult for them. They face, punishment and ostracized and all that. There are 30 people that work in Minnesota in his administration that have been working with us on the Oversight Committee. That is an astonishing number. That's how bad it was. Everybody knew what was going on, and the Walz administration looked the other way because they wanted those 30 or 40,000 block Somali votes.
Okay, so it was politics. Now, Governor Walz, did he admit any kind of incompetence here? I know he didn't admit any wrongdoing, but how about saying, gee, I wish I had done a better job? Did he do that?
No, he said he was, he was educated. He wasn't being straight in simply saying, this happened on my watch. I'm going to take responsibility. I want to fix it. This is exceptionally bad. This is epic fraud. It's historic. And instead, he was trying to just obfuscate. And that's just not going to, it's not going to pass the smell test here.
What was his main excuse for not taking action to stop this or alerting the FBI what was going on?
Well, he said that they did, prosecute some folks. And as you mentioned, there were 98 people that have been charged thus far, and 85 of them happen to have been of Somali descent. And there's been 62 convictions. So he's pointing to that and saying, see, we've convicted some people. But it's like, Governor, this shouldn't have happened in the first place. This is after the fact. And the only reason why you were really taking this seriously is because of the whistleblowers and because of journalists like Nick Shirley that exposed it. So they're not sad it happened, Bill. They're just sad they got caught.
And the Attorney General, Ellison, did he have the same thing going, well, we were on it? Because in order to accumulate a $9 billion theft, that takes a while. That's not just 2 months. That's years and years and years of stealing money from the federal government.
They've got Ellison on tape conspiring with these folks because at the end of the day, this is one of the things I told Walz. I said, well, there's one of two possibilities here. This is either you are in on it or you're too stupid to catch it. There's just no other. It's epic incompetence or it's, historic stupidity. And which one is it, Governor? And then he says, habada, habada, habada. He talks like Charlie Brown's teacher. He doesn't complete his sentences. He doesn't conjugate his verbs because he was caught red-handed and he has no excuse. And Bill, incidentally, I did ask him, you announced that you were running for re-election in September because of your, all the success you've had. And then 3.5 months later, you're out. Why? And then he said, well, I talked to my family, blah, blah, blah. But it was because you got caught and you were going to lose the general election. That's how bad this is.
Is Ellison just a flunky?
Yeah, well, Ellison, he is smug. He's arrogant. He knows what he represents the state of Minnesota. They have a perpetual Democratic majority, and he just really doesn't care. All
right. Your peers on the committee, you said it was all about Trump. Are they blaming Trump for the Somali theft in Minnesota? Is that what they're trying to do?
No, the Democrats didn't talk about the Somali theft in Minnesota. They talked about Donald Trump pardoning. They always deny, counter, accuse, deflect. When we talk about the issue at hand, they say we shouldn't be talking about this issue because it's really not a big deal. We should be talking about their agenda. And the fact of the matter is, in 2024, as you know, the American people said, no, we don't want your woke agenda. We want you to actually govern like adults. So that's why we're still in charge.
All right. So no Democrats stepped up and asked any tough questions in the hearing today?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right, Congressman, thank you very much. We appreciate it, and we hope we can talk again soon. Final thought. Okay. So we got a concierge membership, as you know, and I just said direct access to me. Let me give you 2 examples, and they're easy ones. Some of them are very complicated. So what you do is you become a concierge member on BillO'Reilly.com, and then you get an email where if you have any problems or you want more information or whatever it is you want, we get back to you within 24 hours. You get a transcript of everything I say if you want it free. Okay. So we got a woman from Florida. We don't give names. If you're a concierge member, you are anonymous to everybody. Never, ever will we give your name out. So a woman writes that she is having trouble, with a refund from a company. They owe her $2,000. Okay. She canceled her account. It's a home warranty company, and the company said, okay, we'll refund you $2,000. She couldn't get it. Not unusual. Couldn't get the money. Wouldn't send it to her. So we call the company very politely and say, we looked at the warranty, owe the woman $2,000. Can pay it or not. We don't waste time. So the company did refund the check to the woman. She got $2,000. Another guy from California, he was involved with a gold company called Gold Co. Okay? And he wanted to liquidate his holdings. Legitimately. Wanted to sell them. Couldn't get anywhere with Gold Co. We called and said, hey, your contract is somebody wants to sell, got to sell, and the money they get. Gold Co. did the right thing. I was impressed by Gold Co. doing the right thing. So the guy got his money the next day. You know any other service that does this? And I'll admit, the companies are afraid because if I go on the air and say, hey, this company's screwing Myrtle from Mississippi, it's not good. And we use that leverage, but not in a mean, unfair way. We want justice for you. That's what Concierge Member is all about. BillO'Reilly.com. Hope you consider it. Thank you for watching us tonight, and we'll see you again tomorrow. So you turn on the television, and there's speculation and guessing, and all of that presents a big problem for the TV pundits. What are they going to say? They don't know what to say. So they fall back on the cliche, we'll see. Okay, well, we're not doing that here. Any television person getting paid good money to say, we'll see, they're insulting us. That's what they're doing. So that kind of blather is lazy and condescending. And we will never stoop to that. I will tell you, I don't know how this is going to turn out. It is a military action that did not have to happen. This is an option. And now we're going to walk through that option in the Talking Points memo. All right, there's a new poll, CNN, 1,004 adults nationwide. Now, adults means people who are not actively engaged in a political process. So registered voters, that's a step up from adults, and then likely voters is the top of the line. For whatever reason, CNN just said adults. Okay. Democrat 28, Republican 28, Independent 44. That's oversampling independents, but I don't have a problem with it. First question. What is your view of U.S. decision to take military action in Iran? Approve 41, disapprove 59. Democrats approve 18, disapprove 82. Standard issue there. Republicans approve 77, 5 points down from the Democratic disapproval number. Disapprove 23. So the 5% of conservative traditional Republicans are isolationists. They don't want any part of this. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's important when you're evaluating this kind of a public opinion survey. Next question. Do you think the U.S. military action will make Iran more of a threat to the USA? 54%. Less of a threat? 28%. Now, how could it make it more of a threat? How is that possible? They've already pledged to kill all of us, and now their weapons have been degraded, so why would it make it more of a threat? This is what I mean. There's no logic in these answers at all. None. It's all emotion, emotion, emotion. Final question. Do you favor or oppose U.S. trying to overthrow the Iranian government? Favor 44, oppose 56. Why would you oppose that? Why would you oppose the United States helping to overthrow the Iranian government? They're killers. Why would you oppose it? This is, to me, I'm going, whoa, who are these people? And I'm going to tell you who they are. Unfortunately, we live in a world now where people can create their own existence. In a sense, they live in a bubble. They don't go out of the bubble. So in Hollywood, they're all lefties. Maybe in Idaho, they're all righties. They're on the social media. They don't go and get another opinion. They just hear their own stuff reinforced. That's what cable news does. Every single one of them. They live in a bubble. All right. Fact finding? Nah. Book reading is way down. They go into social media where there are no editors. Nothing is checked. Now, I get letters every single day. Mad, crazy stuff. Oh, I heard this. I heard that. A little skepticism, please. It's not hard to get information. You just Google whatever the subject is. And most of that information is okay. All right? But bubble people are taking over the world, not just the United States. So the truth is that since 1979, as I write in Confronting Evil, remember I got the Ayatollah Khomeini on the cover of that book with Putin and Hitler and Mao. And there's a reason he's there. Okay? Because since 1979, Iran has been in business to kill Jews and Americans and disrupt the world. That's a long, long time. And the worst damage they did was in the Iraq War, where 36,000 American casualties took place. 36,000, including 4,500 dead. All right. And then in Afghanistan, it was 23,000 U.S. casualties, 2,500 dead. And many of those casualties were roadside bombs, and those bombs were built by Iran. All right. Are we getting the picture here? So Iran has killed Americans. And then we had, of course, the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023, totally financed and armed by Iran. 1,200 people killed, estimated 46 Americans in that 1,200 people dead. And then 12 Americans taken hostage. And this is all Iran. So the poll goes, you don't want the government overthrown there? What? I'm just pointing this out because it makes absolutely no sense at all. If you want to justify military action against Iran, all you do is point to what I just told you. All right? It is a terror state. And now it's being downgraded. Okay. The Biden administration did nothing. I had my staff research it. The Biden administration, according to a number of sources, we did the math, unfroze $16 billion in assets and gave it to Iran. $16 billion. Okay? Where'd that money go? Into nuclear program, ballistic missile program, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, terror groups. That's where it went. This is Biden. Biden do anything? No. Treaty after treaty after treaty, Iranians broke every single accord. And this goes back to 2009 with Barack Obama. You remember John Kerry was the big point man. You know, every single deal they broke. Every one. So it got to the point where President Trump had to bomb their nuclear facilities last June. I mean, this is historical facts. I'm giving you facts. I'm not saying we'll see. I'm not doing this mumbo jumbo. I'm giving you the facts. And these people are horrendous. And thank God 50 of them at least are dead. All right. Now, the administration obviously has to justify its cause to the American people, which is correct. I mean, they answered us, and we need to know why this is happening. Here's what Secretary of State Rubio said yesterday. Go.
The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do, and have been trying to do for a very long time, is build a conventional weapons capability as a shield where they can hide behind. Meaning, there would come a point where they have so many conventional missiles, so many drones, and it can inflict so much damage that no one can do anything about their nuclear program. That is what they were trying to do, is put themselves in a place of immunity where the damage they could inflict on the region would be so high that no one can do anything about their nuclear program.
All right. What the Secretary of State will not say is that the timing of this synced up with the protests in Iran that we saw the last few weeks. Estimated 30,000 dead. I can't vouch for that number. Very hard to get an accurate number. There's no reporters in Iran. But they killed a lot of protesters, they the most. Okay. That's why Trump is saying, hey, we might have an opportunity here. If we downgrade their weapons, which is obviously what's happening now, maybe the Persians will rise up and throw them out, as they did with the Shah in 1979. If you really want to know about this, you read Confronting Evil. Okay. But most Americans don't want to know about it. They're too lazy to know about it. And I'm sorry to be supercilious here, but it's true. You hand them a map and say, where's Iran? They don't know. Okay, they don't know. And they don't care. And there are going to be painful things. I mean, you wake up this morning, stock market's down 1,200 points. I hope you didn't panic. Okay, that's all emotion, emotion, emotion. Oil will go up. You'll pay a little bit more at the pump. But this is temporary. You know, the government's setting us up, the Trump administration, for a long slog. I'm not so sure about that. All right, Iran's pretty much out of gas now. Their weaponry is pretty much done. They can't deliver it. 6 Americans killed, but that's not a lot of KIA in a big campaign like this. And I'm watching very closely. I don't see a lot of counterattacks going on. All right, so let's sum it up. The military action by the USA and Israel would not be taking place if the protests had not happened. I think that is absolutely true. President Trump didn't want the military action. I explained this to you earlier. I spoke with him on the phone for a good while, 3 weeks ago today, and he said, I want to make a deal. And I was a little skeptical about that, and I pointed out to him that Iran broke every deal with the Biden administration. Every single one they broke. All right? But Trump wanted to make a deal. Couldn't. They wouldn't agree. So time was right. And that's the memo. 2020 election. Sorry. So you'll remember that the charges against Donald Trump, 13 criminal charges, Fulton County, that's Atlanta. Fonnie Willis, the DA, still a DA. Fonnie's still a DA. That was all thrown out in November, okay, after Trump won the election. And Fonnie was disqualified from even investigating the case because she was fooling around with her boyfriend or doing something untoward. Anyway, newly released memos say that this wasn't even just in Georgia. The Biden administration was behind it. So we want to know all about that. Let's bring in John Solomon, one of the best journalists in the country. He's the CEO of Just the News, which has done its due diligence, as it always does, and reviewed the document. So, Solomon, there are four key revelations according to you. Let's run them down. What's the association, Biden and Fonnie?
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. First, let's remind everybody what it took to get these documents. We had to sue. We had to play 3 years of litigation to get these documents. And for a while, Fonnie Willis claimed these were all protected by legal privilege, and then she just suddenly capitulated and turned over the documents to us last week. And so this is the way our government often works. They keep their secrets from us even when the law says we're entitled to have them. But we won, and there are four really key revelations. The first and most important is that Fonnie Willis was working directly with the Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, to coordinate how that she would go about creating a second level of jeopardy, a second level of cost, a second level of persecution and prosecution for Donald Trump and 18 of his cohorts. Jack Smith was already planning to indict most of these folks on almost similar charges at the federal level. Fonnie Willis's job was to get them and have a second case at the state level that would drain resources, drain attention, drain bandwidth, and drain their reputations. And so the Justice Department's all in on that.
Let me stop you now. So this was during the campaign.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yep, the indictments come out.
Trump
Jack
versus
Smith does
Harris.
it the first week of August, and Fonnie does it 2 weeks later.
Right. So during the campaign, Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, Jack Smith, the independent prosecutor, both working for Joe Biden,
right?
Okay, assisted Fonnie Willis in trying to get indictments that would influence the election.
That's right.
Correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty big. Second one is $18 million in federal funding. What's that?
Yeah, so in the middle of this effort to get Fonnie Willis positioned to bring the state charges to go along with Jack Smith's federal charges, double the narrative, the Justice Department literally invites Fonnie Willis to apply for a grant, which is supposed to be competitively bid. But the Justice Department actually says, don't worry about the competition. We're going to turn this into sole source. You're guaranteed to get the money. Just send us a request. We'll send you a check. This is something that James Comer at the House Oversight Committee chairman has been very concerned about. Same thing with Jim Jordan. They believe that the Justice Department was underwriting the state prosecution. And in this memo, which Fonnie Willis herself writes to the Justice Department, it basically goes like this. Let me get this straight. You're offering me a grant. You're telling me it's sole source, and all I have to do is apply for it. So she kind of echoes back in a CYA memo what's going on. And we're very lucky
to get that. And that's $18 million. That's a lot of jack.
It is. It's a lot of chunk of change. Yeah, it is. And so that's the second one. The third revelation has to do with the Biden White House. In the middle of this, Fonnie Willis secures an agreement from Joe Biden's White House counsel to waive President Trump's executive privilege, the privilege that every president is supposed to enjoy, that they can get advice from advisors without intrusion. Now, it was already waived at the federal level, but it's very rare in American history for executive privilege to be waived in a state matter. In fact, I can't find an instance where it was waived in a state matter previously. So this is a real consequence for future presidents. Future presidents are going to have to deal with what Joe Biden did here, which is basically any state wants your privilege, we'll waive it as well. That's the third big revelation here. And then the fourth big revelation is that the Democrats on Capitol Hill are the other complicit. You got the Biden White House, the Biden Justice Department, and the congressional Democrats on the J6 committee. And they're sending evidence even before their investigation's over through the Justice Department directly to Fani Willis to give her the most resources, the best opposition research, anything she could have to make sure that they go.
Is that illegal for a federal committee or whatever, these J6 committee? Is it illegal for them to send what they've learned to a state for a state prosecution?
No, they can refer anywhere. I mean, Congress has broad latitude. I think the legal issue for everybody, and this is what the prosecutor in Miami, who now has inherited this weaponization conspiracy case, as they call it, is looking at, which is when you have four people working together who all overtly hated Trump. Remember, Fani Willis specifically ran on the notion she was going to go get Trump. If their goal was to deprive President Trump of his ability to win the election, if their goal was to, or the consequence of their actions was to deprive him or his followers of certain civil liberties, then, in fact, those actions, which are otherwise legal, could be viewed as an overt act in a criminal conspiracy. And so we do know from our reporting that these matters, these documents that we just got, that we just made public, have been referred to the Justice Department by members of Congress. They're looking at it, and it is likely to become part of the evaluation of that Miami prosecutor. Is this another example of a conspiracy where the desire to get Trump trampled on civil liberties, civil rights, and due process?
Well, it's election interference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
They're trying to alter the election, the vote, okay, by assisting a woman who's obviously irresponsible. The whole case is thrown out, and she was disbarred from adjudicating, but she's still the Attorney General. That's the kicker on it. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. Let us know if anything else comes in. Just the news. Check. Final thought of the day as you meet. Now, I invited Donald Trump when he was a civilian to a dinner in Washington, D.C., sponsored by the Washington Correspondents Association, which is a charity. And that was in 2011. I sat right next to him. And Barack Obama was there, President Obama. Okay, I'll get to him in a moment. So I remember walking in with Trump, and Trump was a celebrity then, but nothing like now, of course. But he had criticized Obama, okay, publicly. And of course, the president did not like that very much. Roll tape.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
Now, Trump did not like that. Okay? I can tell you. I'm sitting right next to him. But he's going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner this year. Okay? He has boycotted them in his first term and last year, but he's going. There is not going to be a obnoxious comedian to come down. The headliner is mentalist Oz Perlman. No idea. No idea who that is. Anyway, I'm going to go too. Independently of President Trump. Okay, I'm going to go because it's going to be an interesting dynamic there. Because Trump will give a speech. And so I'll be there April 25th, I believe it is. Yeah. So, and then I'll report back to you that Monday of exactly what happened. Isn't that interesting, though, huh? I'm not sure whether this is a good thing for President Trump. He obviously is expanding his, he's giving interviews to hostile people. He's taking their phone calls. CNN, which hates him, got through to him yesterday on Iran. I have to talk to him. I haven't talked to him in 3 weeks. The last conversation I had was about trying to get a deal with Iran. And it was 3 weeks ago today. So I got to talk to him about what his vision is for the media and why he's doing this correspondence thing in April. But that will be, I'm a journalist. I have to go where the action is, and I am going to go in that lion's den. I don't expect anybody to be untoward with me. They better not. I'll tell you right now. But with him, with his speech, there'll be a little drama. Okay. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this edition of the No